Thanks for stopping by. I'd like to preface this video by saying it is not a knitting tutorial, but it means to have something playing in the background while you work on your own knitting project. If you're like me and really enjoy having something on in the background while you work, sometimes the content you like is very visually engaging and you're several hours in and haven't gotten nearly as far along in your project as you would have liked to. So that's where I come in. If you're new here, welcome, and if you're returning, welcome back. We are working on the Mitt the Family pattern. It is by Neish Design, and you can click in the description box to the link of the pattern if you would like to purchase it from Ravelry and follow along with us. I'm hoping you are a speedy knitter because we are on our second mitten right now, but it's just the same thing we did with the first one. So what was that, episodes 1 through 10 were the first mitten, I think? Something like that. I think so. It's all a blur. I've just been knitting and filming back to back to back to back, and more than one video is being shot in a day where it's a new day for you, but it's the same day for me. But anywho, we are almost done knitting the required stitches or required rounds before I can move on to reserving the stitches for the gusset, increasing those, knitting around before I'm at the length I need to set the gusset stitches aside, and then knit around to the top of the hand. So we're getting there. We're about halfway there, I guess. So yes, if you are here from yesterday, I mentioned that I had something I wanted to tell you guys, and I was going to save it for this episode because I thought I was going to talk about it at length, and I wanted to make sure I had enough time, because when I said see you later and the video you saw yesterday, I had 3 minutes left on the timer of the film. I call it film, but it's really just a disc, a little chip thing, honestly, a memory card, but the time of the video. And really what I wanted to say was that I get inspiration from so many places, but more like one place or two, like Instagram and Facebook, and sometimes YouTube if they, are doing their algorithm like they're supposed to. But yarn is everywhere. There's so many people, artisans, who make, some of them spin their own yarns, but most of them dye it. And until I had become a knitter, very novice, I would say, I still don't feel like I have the chops to call myself like advanced or anything. Maybe intermediate, just because I can figure out stuff by looking into tutorials and articles and things to define what the stitches are. But figuring stuff out is still tricky for me because I am not always that understanding of what the pattern is asking me. Hence this one, where I was like really trying to struggle through the first mitten with what the pattern was asking me to do. I was like, I don't understand. But anyway, so it's fascinating to me that, probably many of you guys are already like, we already knew this, Paws and Pearls, like, hello, you are new to our community, so of course you don't know anything, and I understand that, but it's crazy how many people dye yarn out there, how many shops have yarn, how many companies make yarn. I honestly thought it was like, you have the stereotypical like grandma who knits, or the aunt, or just people who are older who have learned it from, a relative and have passed it down. And it's when you get the weird sweaters for Christmas and the bunny ears and the handmade goods that nobody wants. And they're like, thanks for this horrible sweater, Grandma. And, it's always the stereotype of, like, the grandma is the old knitting person and nobody else knits. But then one day it became trendy, and that's kind of when I was like, well, it was before it was trendy that I was like, knitting might be fun to do. But then it got trendy, and then I got a coupon, and then I started seeing more and more advertisements for knitting, and I'm like, fine, I guess I'll do it now. Like, why not? Why not just start? Because I've had it on my list of things I wanted to learn how to do. I just didn't have the time, and then I made the time. But how is the market, like, not saturated? Is something that I wonder. But I guess that could be the same for, like, other niche markets. But at the same time, it's like, how many people in the world are knitting, actively knitting? Like, and it's not just something for the elderly. But with that, because there are so many people who do knit, and the community seems pretty healthy to me. I don't know the numbers, but I would love to know. Excuse me. There's so many people who dye their own yarn, and it's not just, it's not just going to Joann's or Michael's and picking up, like, a Karen 1 pound and working with that. It's everything. It's like this paint box brand. It's hand dyed, it's indie dyer, it's all types, all variations, all brands, and I'm just blown away by that. But part of that is, like, I want to experience so many things in knitting that I don't think I'll live to, and it kind of makes me sad, but at the same time, it's like, well, what can I do while I'm here? So, it's a lofty goal. It's a very, 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 very lofty goal. But I would love to take time to buy yarn from every single dyer, every indie brand that I know, and learn about and discover. And it doesn't all have to be like a bulk. Like, I don't need to have enough to make a sweater, but I want to explore all of the indie dye yarn world that knitting has to offer. And my step one, because next month is my birthday month, as I have mentioned earlier. If you didn't know, you know now. Virgo power, whoop, whoop, whoop. I'm thinking my first step would be to just go on to the, I follow the, the local yarn shop hashtag, and I'm usually blown away by that because I see all kinds of stuff. And that's when I mentioned, like, inspiration, like people posting projects, people advertising products, like yarn, notions, project bags, new patterns, knit-alongs, kits, all kinds of stuff. I feel like that's a really good place to start. But is there any other hashtag you guys know about that I should search to see what kinds of things pop up? Because I want to just, like, I love making lists. Like, lists are my thing. I make lists about what I want to buy at the store. I make lists about what I want to do in the year. I make lists about, things that I've window shopped. My goals for my my yarn crawl, my music playlist, artists that I want to listen to more so that they can bump up their monthly listens because I like them and I want to make sure they keep making music. Lists about, clothes, and that's kind of like where I have all these random bookmarks I mentioned in my last video, where I'll have like 50 bookmarks or 50 tabs open because I don't want to lose anything. But then I've eventually started to consolidate my bookmarks or my tabs into bookmark categories. But one I haven't done yet is yarn. List of my nail polishes. That's another one that I have. All the nail polishes that I've worn in the year, I keep a log. I keep a count of the brand, the finish, and if I want to keep it for another season and give it a go again, or if it's like just not my color anymore, lost the hype. So, with that, yes, let me know if there are some hashtags that you have looked at on Instagram that kind of give you a boost when you want to try a new product, and how you get the exposure, or how do you find out. So what I think I'm going to do for starters is write a list, or not write, I'm going to use my Google Sheets because I love that. And it's easier to find it because I have little slips of paper everywhere that I have all kinds of lists on, and then I lose them and then I find them again. So I think I'll do that. Okay. This is my last row. Or last round anyway. But I'm excited. It's gonna be, like I said, it's a lofty goal. It's a crazy goal. It's really ridiculous because if you look, I would show you, but that means I have to get up. But if you've watched my other videos, then you may remember there was one that I did last year where I tidied up my knitting corner, and I have my knitting corner right here. I have two big tubs of yarn, and then I have like a little tub of scrappy kind of yarn that I've used already, and then I have my notions, I have bags and my wool wash set and stuff, and my tub for wool washing. I have my sack where my Knitterati Afghan equipment stuff is. I just have a lot of stuff. So adding to it, doesn't sound all that smart. I think I already had said before, Paws and Pearls, you have way too much. Well, that's honestly up to debate. Do I have too much yarn or not enough yarn? I definitely have enough yarn, I think, to last me maybe, if I was a good girl and knit all the time, I probably have enough yarn for maybe 3 years of knitting. But that's, as fast as I knit, I think it's about 3 years of knitting. You think like maybe 5 different pairs of socks, maybe 6, maybe a couple hats and some sweaters, maybe a scrappy blanket, and maybe some scrappy socks with some leftover stuff. So not like a ton of big project stuff, but a lot of little project stuff. But some of the yarn I've bought with projects in mind, like the hooked yarn that I got, and the yarn that I got, the Caron 1 pound I just waved around, is for a blanket that I'm making. The Knitterati stuff that I bought is for the Knitterati knit along that they just released the last square, so now I'm like, oh great, I gotta wait for them to release the border, so that's part of it. But I'm thinking that's a lot of yarn, but it's all kind of being churned in and churned out. And then I have the sock yarn that I bought when I was on the sock yarn kick, which I don't think will ever go away, and you'll find out why I think that one of these days, soonish after this. But yeah, I'm just really interested in exploring all the yarn. And maybe one day, I mean, granted, I've already bought some yarn from some folks, so I wouldn't need to buy from them again unless, I really wanted to. But to have a sampling from everywhere, I think would be really cool. And that's not like brands, like not Caron, not Cascade, not Paintbox. I'm talking indie dyers, people who put their blood, sweat, tears, their whole foot in that dye and just make these beautiful colorways. People who spin and spin and spin their yarn. Those are the folks that I want to sample from and have this robust collection of dyed yarn. Indie dyers, indie brands. And then, of course, I'm not just going to look at it, but use it too. And then just chip away at my cool little collection I have. It's so funny because like my partner has become obsessed with collecting custom keyboard keys, and they're expensive, $40-50 range just for a key. But a keyboard, like a keyboard for your computer key, is yay big, or so, depending on is it like a space bar, then it's gonna be longer. Is it enter key? Is it an escape? Is it a one? Is it a function key? Like they have different ones, but they range in price because they're all handmade and they're expensive, but they like it. I think it's tacky because they're not sticking with the theme, so they all look crazy, but they like it. And I like the yarn, so I feel like we're kind of like justifying each other's collector mentality by going about our hobbies in different ways. I like to knit, they like computers and gaming and tech, and I like soft things and cats. So that's that on that. But yes, I honestly do solicit your input on either indie dyers you already know that you really enjoy buying from, or some hashtags if you are on Instagram, or a website that has like maybe a hub of yarn dyer vendors or something where you can explore what other people are using and making and releasing out into the world. This is sort of in part with my plea for submissions of things to buy during my birthday month, so of September, when I have my new funds of the month to spend on whatever I want for my birthday. Well, not whatever I want, because if I wanted a pony, I can't really buy a pony, that's real. But whatever my birthday treat is, I have a list of things that I want to buy for my birthday, and I have a list of things I want to buy when I meet other different goals in my life. But oh my, at 9 o'clock just hit me like a ton of bricks. But yeah, any kind of products too for September that you can think of that I might like, please let me know, along with those yarn dyers, because I am curious. They do have to be able to ship to the United States if they are not United States based company, and preferably they accept PayPal, because something about how many times do I have to enter my credit card online just doesn't sit right with me. So I've been making more of an effort to avoid buying from places that don't have PayPal as an option, just because I like that sense of security. I mean, it's neither here nor there. I could always just buy a card and pay for it that way if I'm really, really desperate, but I would prefer that it's PayPal. Prefer that they obviously ship to the United States, and I'm not really partial to any particular type of yarn, but I know it's so popular for fingering weight, like sock weight, DK weight, Every now and then I see some pretty cool worsted, but most of the time it's like sock or DK, and I rarely see anything that's really pretty, colorful, bulky, or super bulky, or chunky as some people call it. And that's actually something on my list for my fun fuddy sweater that I want to knit after I'm done with all the holiday stuff. But yeah, enough rambling. Just wanted to put that out there. That is my vision. That is my goal. That is my dream, to have a little piece of every indie dyer that I know exists in the world that ships to the United States. Yeah, so we just finished our 10th round. Now I have to do the thing for the stuff. I know, how descriptive am I? Whoa. Actually, we're going to cut this one short because I don't have all that much time left with you. And I did want to devote my oh, I lost my stitch marker. I did want to devote this video to talking about my little pet project, I guess. Not really a pet project because it's a lot bigger than a pet project, but it is something I want to do. And that is get all the yarn. But oh, let me show you once more where we are. So we did our 10 rounds here, and now we're going to start knitting, well, purling, reserving our stitches for the gusset, and then doing all the fancy stuff. So I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.